And let's start off with it, man. Let's start off with it. The college football playoffs. The rankings came out yesterday. So interesting. I wanted your thoughts on it. For me, the interesting thing is that Florida State uh, is number 4. So I was surprised. I thought they were going to continue to kind of penalize Florida State, the committee, for the injury that was suffered by their starting quarterback a couple of weeks ago, but they actually rewarded them. And so we have Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State, then Oregon is 5. Now, you know what is interesting, and Alabama is 8, and I when somebody mentioned this, gosh, who was it? I think it might have been. I think it might have been locally. They mentioned that. Do you know that for all the bashing that we've done on Saban, they're 11-1, and I was thinking, because we made it seem as if they were 8-4 or something like that, or 9-3 or something like that, man. But I wanted your thoughts on the rankings, and also kind of your thoughts on Alabama, because dang, man, one loss and we about to try to fire the man.
Yeah, I think it seems like they have lost multiple games, although even though they haven't, because they haven't been that dominant team that we're so used to. The one loss to Texas, I mean, that's a respectable loss because Texas is right there at 7, I think it is, in front of them. So, like I said, I think the big thing is because they haven't been that dominant, step on everybody's throat, and they actually could have lost a couple more of those games. I watched every Alabama game this year. Tennessee and some other teams had them at the half, and then for some unknown reason, whether it was the teams got scared or woke up from the dream, Alabama came back and got them. But it wasn't the normal walk through the season that Alabama usually does. They had some scuffles throughout the year, and that one loss, actually, that's why I think it feels like it's more than just one loss, because normally they just roll tide. Instead, it was kind of it was kind of like a couple almost bumps in the road, and they weren't that dominant team. And it's like Georgia is now that team that's just, I mean, I don't know how many they won in a row.
Now that you went to that, is Georgia the dominant team? Because it seems like there's been so much. If I zoom out just from, again, I do the macro level of things, it's almost as if Georgia's dominant like they normally are. Okay, anyway, let's talk about the dysfunction with Michigan, or let's talk about Ohio State and some of these other things. Since you watch these games more intently, is Georgia that team?
I don't think Georgia is that team that's like so far ahead of the pack, but because they've continued to roll with the wins, like their streak has got to be up there in 20, close to 30 games now, if you think about it, because they're 2 back-to-back national champions, So, what can you say other than they just continue to win? But at the same time, they're not like, I wouldn't put them so far ahead of the pack that it's like Georgia and everybody else. It's Georgia, and there are a few other teams here just knocking on the door. We're going to find out over these next few weeks, obviously, with the conference championships, and then we'll see where everybody falls. And, there are some people that are thinking Alabama could beat Georgia. We'll see. I love the fact that it's neutral field. We're going to get the best of these two teams health-wise. I think both of them are, pretty healthy. This will be a first time in a long time that Alabama isn't like the favorite. I think Georgia's going in 5.5 point favorites in this one. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But, now's the time where you can't hide. You can't run. Florida State, they might catch a break because they're playing a weak ACC Louisville team in their conference championship, but they can be beat. We all, the biggest, Michigan, Iowa, come on. I mean, that's, they're favored by 23 in their conference championship game. They might as well be playing Chattanooga or something like that, But like I said, it's, Michigan, and maybe they earned that right because they did beat Ohio State, which is obviously their biggest rival. But that should be the conference championship team or game. But think about this too, Jay. Last year of the Final Four, we're going to be moving to 12. This time next year, we're going to be talking about a whole lot more teams than just these first 4, 5, or 6. It's going to be really interesting. The teams at the back end of that, to like 13 through 16, all battling for the 12 spot. It's going to be really interesting.
Okay, and side note, that topic that I wanted to bring to today's show, we'll do it Friday so we can take a deeper dive into it. I want to flesh some of that stuff out. But all right, so having said that, if you're looking at the list that I'm looking at, if we fast forward and let's say it's the exact same situation as it was this year, is there much? Would anybody care about LSU being 13, Louisville being 14, Arizona being 15, Iowa 16 in terms of those teams that are going to get into the mix? It seems like it would lose something because right now, as to your point, is that there's still that talk about Alabama could, if they win, they could jump all the way up to 4, that type of thing. So there's still some drama. There's still some there's a cliffhanger out there, so to speak. And I don't know if it'll be the same thing once we have 12 teams. Am I wrong?
Well, it's like, think about it, bro. When we're talking about March Madness, right? And now they want to open it up. And so it used to be this straight 64. Now you got the playing stuff and you got 68. Those teams at the back end, and obviously we're talking about football's a much smaller number. But I mean, can you look at a team, like say a team at the back end, the 12, are they really national championship like quality?
Right.
It just doesn't, for me, it's watering down the product. I would have been happier with 8 instead of 12, but there's more money in 12 because they can,
yes, sir.
So that's the way they roll. And the other thing with these kids, you're now stretching these seasons into where you're getting up into the 14 and 15 game, territory. And I mean, we're still not paying these kids, but we're asking them to do more. But they can go get their NIL, but we're asking them to do more for less or the same amount, nothing. And
isn't that like your job telling you we're not going to pay you more, but go ahead and get a side hustle. We good. We okay with it.
No, here's the one I like, Jay. They give you a bump in the promotion as far as the name, but we're gonna keep your pay the same. We're gonna call you. You're now executive vice president of this department. Is there a raise in that? Nah. Well, but it's a title.
Yeah. So it is going to be. Just the thought of that, it's not as intriguing or interesting to me when I think about that. When I think about the prospects of next year, and who knows, maybe there'll be a whole lot of competitive teams or something along those lines. But just wait until this time next year, where a lot of the people that wanted this 12 team playoff are going to say it's watered down, just the same way you did, and say it's watered down, and I'm not as interested as a result. Well, this is what
here's the part I'm clamoring
for.
Here's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the team when they come out with the final rankings next year, and a team that finishes at 13. We got robbed.
Why would I hear about you getting robbed at 13? Easy Sports Talk Podcast. It is Ed Smith and Javon